Hello everyone and welcome to yet another live coding until. I'm Johnny and I'm delighted to be here. We keep going through the Next.js Learn course where we implement the same thing we did before with Next.js but with SvelteKit. It's been quite fun. So with Next.js we've implemented this, lots of routes, lots of stuff live, links in the description. You can click around and have fun with it. And the SvelteKit thing looks quite similar. We do have the view transitions going on here. In the last episode, we did do the search and it also looks quite nice. Auth updates as a type as well. Lots of cool things. Today, we'll be doing the login functionality, the authorization, the authentication. Almost every app needs authentication and authorization, but almost no one is excited to do it. Maybe because it's not the unique selling point of your idea and your app. The unique selling point is something else, so you don't want to bother with the boilerplate. But I want to bother with the boilerplate. I'm excited to do this. I'm like, we're going to be logging in with GitHub today. That's awesome. So for the Next.js one, we've done email and password authentication. We'll show something different today using, again, NextAuth, which is getting rebranded into Auth.js, and they do have an experimental SvelteKit solution, which I'm hoping it will just work today. Let's see. I'm excited to find out whether it's going to work as well. And yeah, we've got a full agenda today. The main thing is going to be adding the authentication. Then, if we make it that far, adding some metadata this chapter will be quite quick, and we have a lot of extra credit to go through, but it could be abundance that we do in a later stream. Let's get the authentication done. It's exciting, so we'll switch to Hey Light, nice to see you in the chat. It's not hard, and I guess in the end I do have it as a feature creep to add more auth providers, email and password provider, ideally magic link provider. We can do that in the end. So especially if we do an extra episode where I go through all the extra credit, then I will definitely be showing how we can do email and password and magic link and Google and whatever else. If we have a lot of time, we can do everything. So it should be sweet. But today it's just to show something different, and because I don't want to deal with crypto and bcrypt and that sort of thing, I will try to do GitHub. Awesome. So let's switch to the screen. Let's have a refresher of the SvelteKit of the Next.js deployed app. So if I open in an incognito window, actually, even if I try to access the dashboard, I get redirected to login. And here it's email and password authentication. We just click the button and we log in. That's how it should be. What happens now in our live SvelteKit app is that anyone can access this so long as they have the link. So from here, you can press login and nothing happens because we haven't created this route. But if you're in the know, then you know that you can go to /dashboard and then you get all this great stuff to play around with, and you can cause havoc by deleting everything. And then I need to reseed and all of that. So hopefully it won't come to that. Everyone's still here. So what else do we need to go over before we start properly? I guess nothing. So the Next.js Learn course does talk about authentication. We talked about what is authentication, what is authorization. There's a quiz about it that we nailed last time, and they want us to create the login route to start with, which I guess is what we'll be starting with as well. Because as I showed, if you do go to the landing page, you click login, no route. But we have done routes before, many times at this point. To do a route in SvelteKit, it's similar with Next.js. You go to source, routes, and then need to reflect the path that you want the user to hit to with your directories here. So if we want the login route to work, we need a login directory, and inside that, the magically named Svelte file is +page.svelte. So we want some UI here. The moment we do that, you can see we get the empty screen. Nothing is in there, but I can say let's log in or anything else, and you can see it tiny up in there. But that's where we'll be building our UI. And I guess our layout doesn't really have anything at this point. We have a dashboard layout that has a lot of search stuff, including the side nav or top nav if you're looking on mobile. But for this page, it does have completely new UI, which I guess we'll just steal and yoink from right here. So let's add this. Let's rename every class name to be class. Acme logo, I think we do have this component. It's just logo. I didn't want Wily Coyote coming after me using Acme logo, so I guess I renamed it to logo. And login form, which we don't have. But we'll need to create. So here you go. This should have like the brand colors, but we know why. It's because they are hard coding blue here, but we have set up primary color to default to this nice rose. Still time if you want me to change it. So we get this part. What does the login form look like? We'll need to create that component, but make it a bit different because this time we're going to be logging in with GitHub. So let's have a look. We need to be in an incognito window because a decision that the Next.js team has done and Vercel has done across their app, you'll notice, is that you literally cannot go into a login page if you are already logged in. You need to log out first and then you can see this. So I need to open an incognito window to actually see what's happening here. And the login form, I guess, is all of this. Let's copy like an artist, as they say, and create a login form component. Form result. Paste in everything here. And let's try to render this and see what happens. Okay. So anything blue here? Sure. So it's not primary. Get it on brand. Couple of flex classes that they've missed. Needs to miss. Required doesn't need a string. It just needs to be there. Password field. Sure. We're not going to be using it for now. Because I guess the only way to log in will be login with GitHub. So we'll need this icon. So in actuality, we probably want this to have some margin. That didn't quite work. And I see that this isn't quite a form, but it should be. And we'll see what type of form it's going to be. I guess we know that it's going to be a post form, surely. My editor didn't quite change this element as I wanted. It's not a big deal. And the question is, it's a flex container, so maybe gap 8 will give us some breathing space. Maybe we want this to have a bit more padding. And instead of email and password this time, we're going to be doing login with GitHub. So I guess all we need is a button. So maybe all of this div goes away, or even more. Just need the button, so all of this goes away. And we can say login with GitHub. And let's see if our library does have, loose-side icon library does have a GitHub icon. Oh, that's nice. Cute. Even the button is flexed, so I guess we can do like a gap 2 or something. And do we have an arrow right? Arrow right, move right. Let's use the same one here. Just for consistency. It's like a spacer div here that does nothing. Maybe we're supposed to put in the errors here, I suppose. But for now, we don't need it. All right, nice big login with GitHub button. Maybe the type could be even bigger. I never use text SM. I think that's unreadable and untoppable, really. I know it looks cooler in designs, but I'm not thrilled about it. All right, so we try to do this and then fail. Great. UI done. But now we should start following the instructions. We haven't nearly done this yet. We're getting started. So Auth.js we're using today, also known as NextAuth. They are migrating into the name Auth.js because they're going to be supporting every framework in the world, including SvelteKit. There was a nice blog post about it that I have linked in the description. They have the power of Vercel behind them, sponsoring them as well. So that's nice. What we need is add these as dependencies or dep dependencies. I find that a lot of SvelteKit projects, they just add everything as a dep dependency. I guess because the Svelte or Vite compiler, the Vite compiler with Svelte compiler, all of those things will work together to actually decide what gets shipped in production. But it's really just semantics at this point. So we brought those things in, and we'll need to create our first hook. So in Next.js land, you have the one middleware file now. In SvelteKit land, you have the one hooks file. And I guess you have two hooks files. In theory, you can have one hook that's kind of like middleware that can run on the client, but especially for things like authentication authorization, you only want that to run on the server before every request. So we're gonna create this hooks.server.ts, and that goes right in our source directory. It's not a specific route. It will run on every request that our app gets. And specifically, what it's gonna run is that handle method. So that's another magic name, like load, that SvelteKit is gonna take whatever method you put in there and run it through every request. But now we're saying that actually run the method that gets returned after we run the SvelteKit auth method, which we pass some parameters that we're going to extend soon. And this, I can only imagine, returns a method. So let's have a look at a more vanilla hook just to see what we're working with. So a server hook, you need to export a handle and it gets the event, which has the request URL and all of those things, and has a resolve, which you have to pass the event in to get the response that you're gonna actually submit to the client. Lots of things can happen in between. Some of, well, the example here is checking whether you are on /custom and then it does something else. We will be doing that soon. I'm sure we'll be checking if the path starts with dashboard, and if it does and you're not authenticated, we're going to be redirecting you to login. And if we want to do the Next.js thing as well, if you are on the login route and you are authenticated, we actually get you straight in the dashboard. But our hook file looks nothing like this. It looks similar up to the export handle, but then we're trusting that this SvelteKit auth helper method does return a method that looks like this, so it can handle our request. All right, so what does the example have set up for us? Conveniently, they do have the GitHub provider set up. Auth.js does support quite a lot of providers. You can find them here at Auth Core. They have providers like Google, email, which I think is the magic link style of email. And they also have the credentials provider that we used for the Next.js app, which is the email and password way to log in with credentials. All right, so we've done these things. What they want us to do next, I guess, is have this available, which I did do offline because I realized that it's kind of clunky to see me go through internal error for now, but hopefully we will resolve it. I did save this file, we'll see. So I have a .env file, which hopefully I'm not going to show today, but I have a .env.example file as well. And what we are supposed to do at this point is add our GitHub ID and our GitHub secret here. How do we get those? Well, we can go through the instructions of creating a non-auth app with GitHub. You go to your profile, you go to your settings, you go to the developer section, and then you can create a new app. If I am logged in with GitHub, I can go through it now. So it's settings, it's all the way to developer settings, and then to auth apps, and I've already created the SvelteKit dashboard here, which has this that can be public, can be leaked. You can't get hacked if this gets seen, but this should remain a secret. So if that gets revealed, then you can get hacked. So watch out for that one. Those are the things I've pasted in my .env, but if you check out this project, you can have this .env.example file and substitute in your own. All right, so we got that stuff. We are getting a weird error because we also need the auth secret as well, which I have created by running this command, hex32 or whatever else they want us. Was it too big? Maybe I did do 64 this time, so maybe that's the problem, but I'm not sure. All right, so let's debug this. Cannot find $app. Now that's interesting. It seems that we may need an alias set up, I guess. But what would $app resolve to? $app does seem to be a thing here. But I guess it doesn't get figured out here. Seems to be an import problem. But seems to be like the exact type of thing that GitHub issue that people will be complaining about and raising issues about. So hopefully we're in luck. Hopefully it's one of those, well, maybe it's not one of the 244 ones, but a closed one that we can resolve. Invalid reproduction. Yesterday. That's it. It seems like the thing that we wanted, and it was added as a bug in trials. But they do have rules about what can stay open, I guess. We do have a later version of both, like slightly updated versions, which is nice. And just to double check, I am using Svelte 4, right? Yeah. Still on Svelte 4. Could it be a PNPM problem? Quite a few. That's the one we saw before. Live debugging. We may need an extra episode for this, clearly. So what else can we do? Because there was a different problem before. Let's have a look at this file. I see no dollar something in there. So it must be a different thing. Also, let's just work with one. So interestingly, with ban, it will work. Because ban, one of the very advertised things about it is that it can accept requires and imports in the same file. But yeah, like, thank you for this. Changing this. Is it this issue? Oh, yeah, but I guess they are just manually doing this. Which we wouldn't want to pass, but again, we wouldn't be able to release like this because we're not going to be running bun in production. So core source lib index.ts. It seems the culprit file is this one, import star. I wonder if there's something in the ts config that we can do. Not that one. I think there is a related like ts config thing. Is it this? Yeah, we do have it true, so not sure. I think we'll try to keep going with running the... Maybe we'll do the little plots. So with npm crash, if we hard change this file, let's see if that does work. Interesting. Everything else is not magically resolved into an index file, so that's kind of interesting. Unfortunately, that seems to still fail for me. Yeah, still doesn't like it. So I will not be messing with this, but keep going with ban for now and we'll see what happens. Hopefully we'll be able to reproduce somehow. Also, which version of Node do I have now? 18, sure. Let's try Node 20. Install everything. Just in case. Yeah, still doesn't like it. But we can go with ban for now and get through this. Good enough for now. So let's keep going. We are in this situation because we are dependent over cell. We're not in Cloudflare. We don't want this. We have added the auth secret environment variable by running something like this. And we're not outside of ourselves, so we don't need this option. Callback URL, that's something I set up on the GitHub project. I said that it's going to be wherever Vercel deploys this project to, auth callback / GitHub. We've set it up over there. And now we want the sign-in functionality, I suppose. And on click, I see they're going to do, they have like client-side login, I suppose. Let's see if we can switch to server-side login eventually. But for now, let's see if this works. Hope for the best. So in our login form, what we want is to bring in sign in, and we can say on submit, maybe prevent default. And actually, what we're going to do is just call sign in, which I imagine is going to be triggering some sort of cool flow for us. Triggered it automatically. So let's try again. Login with GitHub, click. We do get into this page, which I'm not quite sure. I think that's the next UI. So which page are we on now? We're still on localhost. Interesting. So we get redirected to a /auth /sign-in method. I guess that's what the middleware magically does for us. And I do think they have an option for us to bring in our own UI if we want. But for now, I guess we get to here, sign in with GitHub. We can use the same language, I suppose. And we should be able to move this to client side anyway, so skip this step. So we click here, then it all goes well, really. Redirect URI mismatch. Right, which kind of makes sense. We are in the deployed version of the app, but we need to make it work with the localhost for now. Sure. So we do need to go back to the GitHub project. We don't need to be on a specific one, but we do need to go on settings. And I was trying to think here. Settings. Developer settings. Auth applications. SvelteKit SaaS. No, that's a different thing. SvelteKit dashboard. Here we have said that the homepage URL is this. Can we have many? I guess you're supposed to have different ones for every app. But for now, I guess we want it to be the same, only it needs to start like this. Localhost, as we try things out. So let's try to go through the flow again. Sign in with GitHub, sign in with GitHub, and now we're in GitHub. Great. We can click this and we get redirected back to login. I suppose there must be a setting for us to log in to get anywhere else other than the page we just came from. Let's figure it out. Oh, and if we pass sign in GitHub, we can skip the sign in with GitHub step. Cool. And we get redirected back here. How do we get redirected back somewhere else? I think we will do like the middleware type of solution in the hook eventually. But for now, it must be something we can pass here. Redirectable provider. options, sign-in options, callback URL, redirect URL. Seems like a thing. Okay, not that one. Callback URL. Is that what we want? All right, where we're directed after signing in, we want this. So let's try to hard code this first. We want the callback URL to be the dashboard page. So exactly this one. So let's try to go through this journey again. Log in, we click, sign in with GitHub, we get redirected to the dashboard. Nice. But we want this to be dynamic. We don't want in production to be redirected to localhost, and we don't want to just hard code the localhost URL or the production URL here, because maybe we are in a preview branch, in a deploy preview by Vercel. So how would we get the root? I think we can access the page store here. Too many dollar symbols. Dollar problems. So we can just get the origin here and then slash dashboard. So that should work regardless of where we've deployed. So again, here, login, sign in with GitHub, made it to the dashboard. Sweet. And that would work in production. Only ban is not going to be running in production, so it's going to fail. But who knows? Maybe it's going to be fine. Maybe there's going to be a patch release by the time we're done with this stream. All right, so we are signed in. In the agenda, we kind of did this. We did this. All right, let's say that we'll do the UI fun stuff first, and then do the logout stuff, and then do the protected routes. Let's go with the plan. And indeed, what they say here is that we can go in a place like our root layout and do something like this. So we have the user session available everywhere, which maybe you don't want to do. Maybe it's some stuff that you don't want to pass client side, but it is convenient to do so. So we can start it out like this and see what happens. The idea is maybe to have a little user avatar here, which is going to look nicer on bigger screens. Like here at the end, you can have the user avatar and their email or something. But even squeezed in here could be fine. I guess this is like a hard logout button. You can immediately log out. This would be, in my head, the user avatar. In any case, to have the session available anywhere, we can do something in our root layout server load, but we don't have any of those. We have a root layout, we have a dashboard route layout, but we don't have a server layout. So that's a new file we need to create. We could just have it in the dashboard because that's the only place where a user will have a session, but I do think it makes sense to just have it here and have it be available throughout the app. So plus layout .server.ts. This is the first time we're doing this, but it's very similar to the plus page.server.ts that we used in the last episode and other episodes to do the load methods. And indeed, we're going to be exporting a load method from this. It's just that it's a load method that's going to run everywhere the layout is running. And therefore, all of the data that it's getting is going to be in here. And we don't need to await this. It's going to get auto-resolved. And we could even nest, I'm not sure if we should be nesting this, to be honest. But the moment we save this, this type should be generated. If we look in here. So now it's happy. And we should have the session now in the front end as well, and do stuff with it like they're doing here. Oof, background image for the avatar. That's a choice. Do we have avatars? We do have an avatar component. And we do have a navbar component, nav component even. And in the nav links, I guess, in the end, we have the sign out thingy. Like a spacer block, I suppose. So maybe here we want an avatar component. Let's start with a div actually, to ensure we're in the right place. So let's say that this is not what we want. All right, seems like we are in the right place. And how does avatar work? Source alt size. So now in the page data, we'll also have the session thanks to the layout server load that we just wrote. So the source will hopefully be page session, page data session, user, image. That's it. And maybe this is an if statement. Like all of this exists, then we can do that. And say your avatar. And the size could be like 32 or something. Oh, that's me. We got it. We got it. But I guess apparently there's like some background action that's happening through all of these things. Something we need to steal. Looks like the size is 48. Let's see what classes we need to steal. Flex, maybe. It seems like too many things here. Around it, maybe we do actually need this. No specified height. No gap, that's one item. But maybe not, maybe we have like the visible label. Yes, that's the idea. All right, now it's making some sense. And the background is this gray and has some padding, and the text is black. This is not gonna be a link, so we don't really need this. Don't want to hover anything. All right, really too big. just slightly silly. Maybe with a bit less padding, we're gonna make it work. Yeah, not too bad. Not a designer. And what happens on bigger screens? We have this situation, which is fine. What we want ideally in a screen like this is to say logged in as, or maybe just your email. You get it, you know, you're logged in. So page data session user email. There you go. I wonder if there is a user, is everything else there? Maybe not. But if there is an image, then the email is definitely there. So yeah, only saw this. If you have an image, why not? And maybe for this one, we more need like a gap 4, 3, and a text bold. Something going on for sure with these links. They look a bit weightier. Font medium. Oh, there you go. All right. Sign out. We want to make that work. And then we can prove that we actually made the login work. Sweet. So logging out, I guess it's just export a sign out method and that's it. So in this power button, no action, no method. Maybe we'll see if we can do this client side, I guess. But on submit, by default, we want to do sign out from the source library we've brought in. So if I click here, where do I go? Nowhere. I'm just not logged in, so I missed my face. Sign in again. Face is back. And does that take like redirect somewhere? Is it the same thing where when would we use a callback URL versus a redirect URL? Or do we need both? And we get this from, let's go back here. We get this from the SvelteKit plan specifically. Interesting. So here, let's look at sign out. Sign out params. True. It's like, okay, a bit more, please. What do the parameters do? I keep clicking documentation and you're not getting me any more information. Oh well. I think we kinda figured it out, I suppose. Maybe it's direct true. Callback URL gonna be page URL origin. Let's see. Click to sign out. Done. Does it work without redirect through? Let's find out. Yes. So does redirect to anything? I don't know. But looks like we have successfully done the sign out functionality. Logging out, nailed it. Next up is to protect the dashboard routes. So as we said, so remember, we can go to /dashboard, even though we're not logged in anymore. So that's a shame. What do we want to actually happen? We want to be redirected to login. So let's see how they suggest to do that. As I saw, they have a couple ways where you can do it, like in a specific page. I think they mean per route here, not per component. So per page, you can check in the load method whether you've got a session. If there is no session user, then redirect back to /auth, which is /login for us. Or you can do it per path, which suits our case. So we can go back to our hook and actually have our handle be a sequence of hooks. So first, they're going to do their magic stuff. And only then they're going to do the custom stuff that we're going to be adding here. So let's copy paste a lot of stuff. But one by one. So hooks file, we want to use the sequence method that SvelteKit provides. So we can have many methods going on here. And we still want to do the SvelteKit auth stuff. But what we want to do is write a whole new method, I guess, which looks like a regular hook, I suppose. And we're only going to use it in this file. We don't need to export it. And I guess we can type it a bit better. This would also be a handle. So again, it's going to be taking an event and a resolve. This is a handle as well. And this needs to be a sync. So this thing in our case, we want to protect all the dashboard routes, so /dashboard. You could do, I think this will not be catching images, but I'm not sure. That's a thing with middleware Next.js that we needed to ensure that our middleware is not catching the images, or else you won't be able to see them if you're not authenticated, which you don't necessarily want to do. But we'll see. And if the URL path name starts with dashboard, then we want to check, is there a session? If not, redirect. 303 redirect. See other. Yeah, I guess if we wanted to like fail it completely, it would 401, but you never do that. Just tell them, just log in. So we redirect the login page here. Or else we do nothing. Then dashboard will just immediately resolve the event, and that's it. So we want this method to run after authorization, and we want that to happen because I guess this SvelteKit auth method does put the get session helper method in the locals here. Cool. And interestingly, I just want to see if, like, what does the event locals object look like? It looks like app locals. Great. Do I get any autocomplete? No, I do not. So what I really want is to type this. So quite interestingly, we haven't typed what we have in app locals, and yet somehow this kind of knows what it returns, but I don't get the autocomplete. I do. So how does it know? I guess there must be like some Auth.SvelteKit magic, maybe exporting some types to say, there you go. So that's nice of them. In their entry point, they are extending the namespace app that we're using and saying that it also has a get session as well. It's also saying that the interface has a session in the page data, which happens to be true because we did it, but only if you've done this setup, this happens. I guess it makes sense. Like only if you're running this method, then your locals is extended, and only if you've added that layout.server.ts, then locals can have the session itself. Kind of interesting, important to note because it is magic, but you need to understand the magic. Like I was a bit caught out from this just now. All right, so I think it just happened like while I was talking, we got kicked out of the dashboard. And indeed, if we try to go to the dashboard or directly to dashboard invoices, we go to login page. Thankfully, if we sign in, then we can make it here. But we're not doing the Next.js thing where we get kicked out if we are in the login route. In Next.js, I guess they say, okay, if it doesn't start with, you get the session anyway, and then you're at second. If you are in the dashboard and you don't have a session, you direct to login. But if not, then if you get if you have a session and you're not in a dashboard route, then result. So let's replicate this exactly. So you get the session anyway. If you are on dashboard route and you don't have a session, you get redirected, or else it gets resolved normally. If you have a session, then it's kind of the opposite. You get redirected to the dashboard, or else it gets resolved normally. So this works the same as before. But if I try to go to the regular route, I get redirected back to the dashboard, which personally I don't like. So I guess I'm not gonna do it for this app. It makes sense to do it for the login route, and you're logged in already. Although some people do get upset because they want to log in with something else, but still, don't worry, you can still click like to sign out, and then you're fine. So let's try to do the redirect in the login page specifically, and forget this ever happened, so I don't like it. So dashboard protected unless I'm logged in. Login page, it doesn't magically kick me out, and main page doesn't magically kick me out. Let's let this be, but if I try to log in, then I should immediately be magically authenticated and into the app, the dashboard. So how do we do that? We can do the component specific redirect as they have here. So per page is what they mean here. Now it's clear. And the login page, we can write a plus page.server.ts. And again, in the middleware, we can explicitly check, are you in the login page? If you are, then log out. But I think since this is specific to this page, I'll just prefer doing it like this. So redirect to the dashboard. If there is a session user and you don't need to return anything. So bam, that's what happens. We can still see the main marketing page. But if we try to log in, we make it straight to the dashboard, which I think is sweet. If we click logout, we're kicked out. We're kicked out in two ways, like the sign out method kicks us out and the middleware would have kicked us out anyway. We can click to login. And if we click sign in with GitHub, we can't see this page because we're not logged in. Then we have to sign in with GitHub. And if you haven't done it before, then you get an extra step by GitHub or your other auth provider, which will be asking you, like, did you mean to do this? Did you mean to log into this weird app? And then you're like, of course, I love Johnny's apps. They're awesome, they're fun. So you make it here. And you have this avatar thingy that doesn't do anything. But proves that you're logged in, I guess, as someone. If you do expand it, you can see your email. I guess in real life, like you click there and manage your profile and then still have like a quick way to sign out. But I think we did it. Protected. All right, so all of these things we've done without touching our database. So no extra information from the user persisted up to here, which is kind of neat. Let's say sign in with GitHub. Because then we're actually going to persist some of your information in the database. As a reminder, in the database, we do have users, we do have invoices, and customers, and revenue. But we're going to need a few more stuff if we want to keep expanding on what Auth.js has to offer. This would also help you keep track if one person has many accounts, for example, and that sort of thing. Is there anything else in this page that they're telling us to do? No, I think that's it. I think we did it. I think we're awesome. So, what this library also provides is, as well as many providers as you want, they also provide quite a few adapters, which essentially means that you're going to be persisting that information to your adapter, which is usually a database. And we have gone with Prisma with this project, so we'll go with Prisma here, and we'll need to add a few things there and also create a migration, interestingly enough. And I guess this is the really new stuff that we want. We want a model account. We don't have it in our database. We want a model session, and we need to amend what the user looks like as well. So let's see how this is going to play out. Maybe well, let's go step by step. We're not using next, but it should work the same. No. And more migrate stuff. All right, I think this is what we're gonna need. Oh, we can even browse our data. That's cool. So let's try that. Oh. PNPX. Oh. Okay, forget about the Prisma dashboard. Doesn't really matter. What we do want to do is migrate in the end. Don't worry too much about that. But what do we want to migrate? We want to migrate because we want to update our schema. So the new schema that we want is this. Let's copy most of it. Don't think we need anything like this because we do have latest Prisma. And we can go to our existing schema and see what we have. The user is right at the end there. So account is going to be brand new. Tons of things. I guess all all auth providers adhere to the same schema. So we really have no say in this. It is what it is. We have a say of what our users table is going to be. I've heard an interesting talk and read some interesting pieces, I guess, or white papers about naming your users database and your user as something else other than the generic user. It's like maybe it's like footballer or whatever else. But I haven't actually seen anyone doing it in real life. So for everyone, it's like just a users table for your user. That's it. They don't need to be like Airbnbers or whatever else. Similarly, session, I guess that's not as standardized, but that's what Auth.js expects, and it feels very standard to me. Again, mapping to our user table. Now our user is it looks a bit different. QID, CUID. What's CUID? New spec just dropped. I'm sure lots of you know about it, but that's the first time. Well, I don't remember seeing it before. It's more accurate. I imagine that doesn't matter. Name we have and how big it is doesn't really matter. That was part of the Next.js course. Email, unique, sure. Password, we have that. We're not going to use it for this. We have an email verified date time. That's interesting. And they have an image, which is a string, not an image URL. I guess that's something that says also wants. And accounts, a user can have many accounts. They can log in with lots of different providers because their emails should be unique, but they should be able to choose whether they log in with Google this time or Apple or whatever else. And many sessions. All right, that makes sense to me. Can I have comments here? And this is both in user tables. So, question is, if I now run the migrate command, will it realize what migration needs to happen? Let's see. Enter name. Create tables for auth. Interesting. So yeah, why is this user ID string? This is string, so what's the problem? Do I need to do this in other places? Let's see. Invoice has a customer ID and you specify this as DBUUID, like we do here. Okay. So maybe like this is all that we need. And I guess we're kind of doing snake case because of our previous example. User ID, and we have user ID here, user ID here, user ID here, and here, here. All right, more luck now. Same thing, but kind of different. Why is there a camel case user ID now? So their problem is with account user ID. Didn't start doing anything before, did it? Oh, it is the same error as before. Interesting. Did I save hard enough? Let's see that migration. Yeah, let's delete this one. So it created this migration for us, but we don't want it. We want to create a new one. Great. All right. So the problem was that it does create a file, even though it doesn't look like your schema is correct, and we mess things up. But if we delete that migration, we're fine. Let's reset the schema, sir. We needed to lose our data, but that's fine. We get fresh users now. This one looks familiar. This one looks like a new face. Anyway, looks like everything went smoothly. So, is that it? Does this generate the client again? Yeah. All right, so I think we did it. Let's open Postico. See our database. It does have an account table with uppercase letters. Oh well, doesn't matter that much. How did we do lowercase before? Yeah, we did the map stuff. Map sessions and map accounts. So keep the consistency with what we did with the other app. So now let's do the same thing again. Forget this migration ever happened. And I guess that Prisma is clever enough to understand that we run a migration that doesn't exist. So there is something weird happening here. We've drifted. So start from before. A new migration is going to be create tables for auth again. And we should have new data again, but everything should be fine. And if we go to our database client, you can see we have customers, invoices, we see the data, all good. Have these users that are like fake users with fake passwords, but we don't have password functionality. And we don't have any accounts or anything else. So it'd be interesting to see, do I magically get an entry for me here? And I'm almost sure that I will, and get an associated account and sessions entry too. So let's see. Somehow I still have my session because we weren't using the database before. Sign in with GitHub. I can log in just fine. No extra user. No extra customer, no extra accounts, no nothing. So that's a bit of a shame. Did we actually add the adapter here? We did not. We failed. We'll do it now. So we did everything besides actually adding the Prisma adapter here. Just talked about it. So here we need to tell to Auth.js, hey, use the Prisma adapter. Use the Prisma adapter. It's not going to do it. And here's the Prisma client as well. You may want that one. Problem is we need to install it. Good. Yes, every adapter is a different client, different buckets. And we can begin. I should have brought it in now. Should be a thing. It is a thing. Use it here. And now we need the Prisma client, which we have here, but we will be instantiating in a different way soon. Okay, but we can get it from there too. No. Come on, TypeScript, you can do it. You found it. Well done. All right, so we are getting kicked out because we use the adapter. That's cool. So if you change adapters, I guess every user gets kicked out. Sign in with GitHub. Error localhost 5173. What's the problem? Read more. Hey Mbuso, hello to South Africa. That's amazing. An ex-flatmate of mine is from South Africa. Great person. He told me he used to surf every day, and he'd fly to his place from Yobo, and we went surfing in a different place, and he was really, really good, and I was just getting beat up by the waves for sure. So I do believe him. right. So the problem with the session token could be that we were horsing around and didn't log out. So let's see if we have any weird cookies or anything. We do have weird cookies. So let's clear and try again. Try harder. We can indeed not go to the dashboard. We can press this. Then we need to authorize again. And then we get the error again. Unfortunate. All right. Yeah, there was an error. Could be that we created the Prisma client in a different way as well. I'm not ruling that out. But let's have a look at the database as well. So we didn't create a new user or anything like that. No new account, no sessions, no nothing. Which is fair enough. We are bringing in the Prisma client from where we've instantiated it before. Let's try to pass it in like this. Just create it here outside of the handle. It is a server file, so it shouldn't play a part. What did we have before? Let's pass this in and see if we get anything better. Now, same error. Read more somewhere else. We do have the schema slightly different, but not that different. And it has to be here, I'm sure. Anything else we may be missing? Let's look at the schema again. We have the client. We don't send it to our client. We have provider Prisma client JS. They say we don't need this if we are on Prisma 3x. Are we on Prisma 3x? I can only imagine 5. So yeah. And Prisma client also on 5. So looks fine. And these things are different IDs for sure, but it shouldn't be that different. I did change the names, and they are saying something about names as well. Oh, they are saying to do it a bit differently. Maybe it's the user ID thing that I foolishly just updated. So they're saying that maybe the model needs to be like this. And actually map it to something else. Much like I mapped this to accounts, that should be fine. So this is back to being user ID. And here it's the same situation. Sessions, sure. Map users. I don't think we did anything else that's kind of weird. Verification token. Oh, there was another. There was one more sticky table that I missed. Whoops. Sorry about that. So yeah, this could have been a problem as well. And I guess we can actually use this one. Something else if you want. So one more time, let's forget this migration ever happened. Do you know this migration? Nah. Let's drift once again. All data will be lost. The name for the migration. I could have typed it at this point. All right, got it. Back to localhost. Back to running the server, so we can go back to localhost. All right, will this work? I think it will. Feeling good about this. All right. Good. We tried to do like a weird post request, I guess, at some point. That's by the by. Oh. So it tried once and then it failed. Interesting. What does our database say about this? Still no more users. Verification tokens is here. Sessions, counts, nothing more. Just to run default here. So that's not the problem. And what is it? Did generate the Prisma client as well. So if there are any more mapping problems that we don't know about. It's like 3 extra tables plus a modified users table. The difference is the CUID here, but it should be the same. But I can only change the schema here to see. So ID, name, email, password, email verified. I saw them up in here, but I don't care that much about it. Guess we can do it. Account session looks correct. On the session one, I guess we can just copy all of this again and paste it and see if there is any difference. Should be fine. And then the account one is like this. But should be the same as before. Again, let's pretend this migration never happened. And try to migrate one more time. That's what local development is for. So the difference that we're trying out here, the main one, is that the user ID is a CU ID, not a unique ID, UU ID, which should be functionally the same. So I'm not holding out much hope for this one to work. I'm holding some hope. And let's clear cookies, just in case something funky going on. Login, same with GitHub, error. Yeah, I don't think we can get much further than this. What else do we have here? Can try to generate the client again, but they do that for us automatically. Can restart the server. We can re-clear the cookies. Middleware still runs. I guess in the end something happens where it's trying to persist the record in the database. I didn't run a Prisma migrate deploy, but it looks like that's for talking to the production database. Let me have a look. Not that one. So let's just run it. So if I have, so deploy, if I have migrations that haven't been applied to the database I'm talking to, it's gonna run them, but the dev one does apply them. So I don't think this did anything. And Dota, I was talking to this one. We can see that they have applied the migrations both by looking at the migrations table, and also we have a users table now, sessions table, users table that looks like this. Email verified and image and that sort of thing. Tokens table, like all those things. So, interestingly enough, the naming is different. What else could be different? We have the Prisma client, we have the Auth Prisma adapter, we have Prisma. We have created the client like this. And we're passing it in here in the middleware. And it's all looking fine. Is there anything else we're missing from the user model? That's the one we didn't touch too much. Email verified. Is it the password? It's the password. It's that silly thing. It's trying to create a user record without the password. Whoops. I'm sure this is it. Nullable. So in the end, it's trying to create a user without the password. And we don't have a password. So that's not great. Guess it's just a question mark. And we do need this for this to work. So let's forget this ever happened. Run again. No, not that one. This one. Alright, so now I'm more confident this is gonna work. I think I've identified what the error is. In the end, everything went well, but it was trying to create a new user record. But the way we had the schema with that silly password field, it wasn't able to. Now that we made it nullable, it should just work. Just worked. Woohoo! Alright. Sweet. Let's log out real quick. Log in again. Oh, interesting. We didn't... No, it's correct. Everything's correct. We can log in again. We can go to this page, the marketing page. If we click login, we jump straight to the dashboard because we are authenticated. We are logged out. We're trying to go to the dashboard. We go to the sign-in page. Everything works. Amazing. Let's look at all my data. Here we've created a new user. It's me, and here it is, the password field. That's the thing that we were missing. We were saying that they need to have a password. And all these fake passwords that we're not hashing, you should never store them like this in a database. We did this intentionally to show that you shouldn't do this, but we haven't gotten to email and password authentication just yet. And I guess in here, like you'll have like GitHub, you create like this, like the way to open this up because I don't know what information is there really. But yeah, that's the one session. So I guess there is some cleanup happening, even though we logged in a few times. I only have the one session there. That expires in the future. If I refresh on the client-side router, does this refresh? Doesn't look like it. If I revisit the page like this, does this refresh? Doesn't look like it. So interestingly, how this doesn't get refreshed every time. I imagine there is a way to refresh the session somehow. I'm not gonna look at it too long, but I'm choosing to think that maybe they automatically do it for you when it's closer to expiry. Maybe not. Yeah, I'm not gonna look into it for too long. I will do the demo yet again. So I am logged into the dashboard. I can sign out, I can log in, sign in with GitHub. We make it in, we're logged in again. Create redirections and all that stuff work. The thing that I was interested in and was looking into now was the refresh token here. So I have this session, depending on what time it is now, you can see that it's essentially this time in Barcelona, so it's like +1 different. But this one doesn't look like it's getting automatically refreshed as I navigate through the app, which is a cool thing to do. I don't know if we're closer to this date. When is this date? Like in 1 month. Wow, that's quite far in the future. So maybe like tomorrow they will refresh the token for me, or maybe like in 1 week they will refresh the token. There are some cases where you set the expiry like in 1 week or even less, and as the user navigates in the app, you keep refreshing it to the future. You can do just 1 hour, depending on how secure you want this to be. And I'm sure there are settings here in Auth.js to amend that and say, actually, I want the default expiry to be then, and I should refresh the token in that window. What people don't want is to keep using an app all the time, and then suddenly they get kicked out. Although I guess that's a bit of a standard. I do seem to think that around the start of the month I get kicked out out of every service that I am logged in. So maybe like all these tech giants just do this strategy where you log in, you're logged in for a month, next month you need to log in again. And that's fine, I haven't quit using them. So we did it. Amazing. Authflow works. The problem is with that weird import and require mixup that we have. So I'm not sure if I will be able to deploy this, but we can go through the metadata up there in next learn quite quickly and have a clean slate for next time, for the final episode with all the extra credits and fun stuff that we're going to be doing. So, metadata. So, Next.js definitely has an edge on this because of the Open Graph images and the way they handle all the dynamic metadata and that sort of thing. However, they're not used in this Next Learn course, which I find amazing, to put it mildly. One of the biggest bonuses of using Next.js is getting great metadata and open graph images that make your links look very shareable, very enticing to click on when you share on WhatsApp and Discord and wherever else. So not having a chapter just dedicated on how awesome this is and how you get it almost for free with Next.js, I don't know. So they do have like a quite simplistic way to do the metadata, which we can replicate with SvelteKit. But do keep in mind that if you have something like a ticketing app, like a conference tickets sort of thing where you want to generate QR codes, then Next.js would save you a lot of time. Doing that with SvelteKit and libraries like Satori is possible, but more work. So huge edge with Next.js for this if you need dynamic open graph images, but we don't do dynamic images here. I guess we are building a dashboard app, so you don't really care that much about clickable links here and having your numbers and invoices be dynamic, but you know, maybe you would. But that's by the by. So yeah, metadata. Once again, even here, even though they're not harping on the greatest a top 2 feature of Next.js, I would say, that makes it unique versus other meta frameworks. The theory is excellent, so you should definitely read through this, and it's a great chapter. Just that they could be pushing what you're gonna be doing a bit more. And they're telling us how to add the fundamental title, description. Again, I think that this is like a anti-pattern to add nowadays because people have used it, but maybe not. And how to do open graph title images and descriptions. So in here, they just tell us to add the title and the description, which we can do in our own layout file. So in our layout file, it doesn't have much in regards to HTML, but we're going to be adding more stuff using SvelteHead. Well, not too exciting. We're not going to be importing this. So we're going to be saying that the title is Next.js dashboard, I guess. What did they want us to do? Acme dashboard. And that's going to create a meta description. Which we can take inspiration from here. I guess it is kind of neat how Next.js does take an JSON object that you write and then transpiles it, makes it be what the browser understands what it's going to be in the end. What do they want this to be? We are hard-coding stuff for now, and next step would be to make this dynamic. And we don't need the canonical URL or anything like that there. But we do want a separate page to have a separate title. So now we do get the Acme dashboard here because we've added this thing. But we only want that to be the case here. And even on the login page, maybe we want like a /login or say something different. And definitely here we want to say latest insights or dashboard. Here we want to say invoices, create invoice, all those things. And a way to do that with SvelteKit is you need to kind of make things up, but the community has fallen into a place where we are all doing kind of the same thing. So what I usually do, at least me, I do have a default metadata.ts file or similar. I guess it doesn't even need to be a separate file. I can just create that here. Let's have a const default metadata equals JSON object, and I can say that the default title is Acme dashboard, description is whatever we've got here, and I can do the apostrophes nicely. No, it mixed up the codes for me. And in here, I am going to be using the default metadata title and default metadata description. However, that's not what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be creating a title attribute that's going to be looking into the page data and see if we're going to have, like, you're going to make this up, but what I'm doing is checking for a metadata property, and then that one may have a title. If that's the case, then I'm going to use that one, but as part of a template object. So I can actually say, use the title that's in there. So if that exists, use the title that's in there, yes, or this Acme dashboard. Or else go to the default title. And page, we've seen the page store a lot today. That's what we're going to be using. And then use the title here. And kind of similarly for the description, I want to check, does it have a description? If yes, I'm not going to do any interpolation. I'm just going to say page metadata description. At this point, we do know that this exists. I deleted too many things. And yeah, no question marks needed at this point. The description is going to be that description if it exists, or the default description if it's here. And I'm going to use that here. That means that it is going to default back to whatever I've passed in here. So if I look at the source code as well, You can see that in the head tag, we do have a meta name description of this, the default one, but how are we gonna use it differently? So in a specific route, like this invoices route, on my page.server, I can export a metadata object that can have a title, and I can say that the title is invoices. And the description is search and filter. And again, these are more important in publicly crawlable places of your app, not something that the Google crawler and other crawlers can get into. They don't need to be authenticated, but still it's good practice to have it. So the moment I save, you can see that the title here changes. So if that doesn't exist, if I save, defaults back to this. If the title exists, then it gets magically put in there. So that's cool. And similarly, for what we've put in the head, the description is now what we've put in here. So all you need to do is for the specific places, the specific pages that you do want to have different metadata to be exporting a metadata object. And again, I made this up thanks to what the community seems to be doing. You may want to do something slightly different, but I think the basic idea of your core layout is responsible of having this svelte head tag, only the core layout, and it's looking to a specific property that you may be you may be returning in a load method of your other pages or nested layouts. This is the way to go. I think it's quite neat. You still need to do a lot of the boilerplate for sure. So I guess try to go into a different SvelteKit app, Zonify project that you can also find open source and free. Let's see what else crazy things am I doing there. I imagine I must be doing a lot of open graph stuff, which I'm gonna copy wholesale. So for open graph images, like for Twitter and Facebook shares and that sort of thing, you do have OG title, which is going to be the same, OG description, which is going to be the same. The type is always going to be website. The site name is going to be whatever the site name is. And the OG URL is kind of interesting because it is going to be taken again from the page store. So your URL for whatever page you're on, the canonical URL, you can derive it by getting the href out of the page URL object. And you'd need a couple more things to do things like open graph image tags. But I guess for that, we need to steal the favicon. And the open graph image. So steal those two things. Let's see if they do steal them somewhere else. No, they do not. But we can open that project and steal them from there. So let's do that. For the favicon, it is only gonna be slightly different. Is there even a favicon? There is. So instead of putting it in the Next.js app directory in SvelteKit, you need to make your favicon available in the static directory, as I have my app here. And you may need to have like a signed web manifest and that sort of thing, which we're not going to get into, like lots of different versions of your favicon. There are browser-based tools that you can do those things on, generators where you can give it a big file and generate all of that for you. With Next.js, it's easier because you just provide the one file and they are going to do all of that stuff for you. Here, it's more work, but it can be done. So again, here on our set directory, we have this kinda like empty offline SvelteKit logo. What we actually want is the favicon, and we can see it changing here to the Next.js favicon eventually. And maybe we need to specify in the layout file as well. Do we have a site manifest? Don't think so. So that's kind of interesting. Ah, right, there is one more file. There is app.html also happening here. So one more file to worry about. App.html may be saying where your favicon is. So if it's saying that it's favicon.png, then that's not going to be true. So you just need to specify this one. But yeah, I will change the favicon here. And for open graph images, they do have one for us still, the Next.js kind people. If I manage to open that directory again, sorry for the quick moving. So open graph, they do have this for us to steal. And all we need to do is put it into our static directory. And then in our layout, we can say that the open graph image is going to be it needs to be a direct link actually. So we do need the page URL dynamic store here. You cannot put a relative link in here. So it needs to be the origin $20 / open graph image png. I believe that's correct. When this is deployed, I like using a tool like Open Graph Image Validator. Let's see if there's a link here. I don't think any of those are the ones that I've used before, but it's the same thing. You can put in your deployed site. It's not inspiring me with confidence, but hey. And it can give you the open graph images that are there. And you can have things like the website type, and if it's going to be like a big card, if you're going to be sharing on Twitter. But I think that's going to be it for today. I'll see if I can get this deployed and figure out our problem with the Auth.js library mixing requires an import or whatever it's doing there. But I think this is it. Again, for a site where you can have dedicated open graph images, so if you're a designer or you have a designer, or you can put together one big open graph image like this, and then it works for all of your website, or you don't have that many pages, so you don't need to dynamically generate the open graph images. You can get away with something like this, where on every page that you care for, you say, all right, for this page, it's this file, for this page, it's this file, the open graph image file. But with Next.js, where you can so easily do the same thing for dynamic images and with dynamic data. So instead of going to Figma and creating a picture, a PNG where it's hard-coded 268 or whatever it is here, you could dynamically put in the real dynamic data in there. That's cool. Is it necessary? Depends on your use case. If that's your use case, if that's important, then Next.js will give you the edge. You can do the same thing with SvelteKit. We may see that in the extra credit, but it is going to be more work. All right, we added some metadata. I think that's going to be it for today. We have a lot of extra credit stuff to go through. We did do a lot of extra credit in the Next.js version of this. We did the Playwright end-to-end test, but there are some things that are SvelteKit specific. Specifically, how do you do dependency injection with SvelteKit? I find it much easier to do something like dependency injection that you can see in other languages and other frameworks like Laravel in PHP or Rails in Rubyland. And you can do something nice and similar with SvelteKit, but it's very hard to do with Next.js. So I do consider it like a SvelteKit feature. We can show that. We'll check, can we deploy this on the edge through Vercel? As always, we're gonna try out the enhanced image. We're gonna be adding more auth providers to the match click email, maybe to the email and password. You let me know what you want to see be added here. Maybe more SvelteKit stuff as well. Maybe more Svelte 5 stuff specifically as well. There are a few places where we could be using snippets. Maybe we'll refactor there. And yes, Kirill, thanks for joining. We are wrapping up for today, but we're wrapping up part 5 after short and breezy 2-hour stream. And there's going to be a last part with all the extra credit that half of it we did on the other deployment. Half of it is kind of SvelteKit specific, so it should be interesting. But yeah, I think this is going to be it for today. I will run through very quickly the demo, what we did today to confirm that it works. So login page, same as before. If you click login and you are logged in, you make it straight to the dashboard. And in the dashboard, everything else looks the same. We've added like this image of you here. Well, it's an image of me, but it's dynamic, so you can actually log in and see your own and your email. You can sign out. If you sign out, then you have access to this page, you have access to the login page, but you don't have access to the dashboard or any other dashboard route. So you can go to dashboard, invoices, and that sort of thing, but you're gonna get kicked out. You're gonna get kicked out to login. In the login page, you can sign in with GitHub. If you haven't gone through the flow before, you are gonna go to actually GitHub and authorize this app and say, yeah, it's fine to log in with me. But if you've gone through it before, it's actually going to be quite seamless and quite fast, as you saw. And suddenly we're logged in again, get redirected to the dashboard, can go about our business. Thank you, Delight, too, and thank you, everyone, for watching or still watching here, and especially the people keeping me company in the chat. Always a pleasure. I'll see you on Friday, where we'll likely finish things up with extra credit, or maybe we'll do internationalization with the Next.js app. I'm not sure. I think next Tuesday we're going to do Next.js again with internationalization. But for now, let's just finish things up on Friday and do all the extra credit. Let me know if you want to see something specific added in this app, because this should be it for a while. We're going to park this project for a while and do new stuff. All right. Thanks a bunch for watching. I'll see you around. Have a lovely